There, can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I was having some computer issues here, but now I'm good.
Oh,
Sorry about
awesome.
that.
Oh, no worries at all. I've done so many of these. I completely understand all the technical
Yeah,
that go into it. So, but I just want to thank you both so much for taking the time to do this interview.
no, thank you for having us. It's our pleasure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
uh, just like I was talking about right before you joined on, I've been a gigantic fan of you guys ever since the Latter Rain back in 2007, and I've been keeping up with you guys ever since. And once I started doing uh, my original work with promoting music and doing reviews and interviews since 2011 under the name That Drummer Guy, I've been spreading the word of you guys of In Vain. And now in 2024, being able to talk about Solemn, which is currently my favorite album of 2024, and it's going to take a massive album to be able to knock that off. I thank you guys so much for creating such an amazing album, and I'm so happy to see that at least in the roads that I follow, everyone seems to be loving this album and giving it such high praise, and it's just great to see everyone falling in love with In Vain the way that I did all the way back in 2007.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for all those kind words, and yeah, we really appreciate it, and very cool that you've been following us all the way since our first album. That's really cool. Uh, and uh, and also very cool that you joined us on our first album and still enjoy our music now and like our latest album. That's really nice. And yeah, it seems that people are enjoying the new album. That's the general impression I get, and that of course makes us happy. It's nice when people appreciate what you put your heart into. So yeah, that's a good feeling.
Oh, definitely. So, with that in mind, I mean, the album's been out just about 2 months now. How does it feel to have the album out for just about 2 months now?
Uh, we still feel great about it, I guess. We've been happy with it all along the process, and it's been a long process getting it released. So it's kind of a weight off our shoulders to finally get it out there and see that, yeah, it's good. People like it. And yeah, it feels great. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to say again, again, being a fan all the way from the beginning, I love seeing the trajectory of where the band has gone so far. It's just like it gone in so many different kinds of directions, and there's so much genre bending that does happen within the band, but it still has that same core sound that I fell in love with all the way back then. And even with Solemn here in 2024, there's still those elements of the progressive side, the death metal side, the black metal side that I love so much, but it feels more refined and profound nowadays. And I feel that way with the latest album. It's like it's the most profound album that you guys have done to date. It feels the most mature. Uh it feels like a very adult album. Was is those any things that you're feeling about this album, or is that just on me?
I guess that's what you hope to achieve, at least that you progress as a band, that you kind of learn from your mistakes, or not necessarily mistakes, but you pick up some tricks along the way, and you find out more how you want to have the music, how you want it to sound, and how you want it to be produced, and everything like this. And so that's our goal every time, that we're gonna make an In Vain album, but not make the same album as before, to try to evolve somehow, to create something new. And yeah, that's important to us, not to like be a one trick pony, do the same thing over and over again, but to be able to put out something that is new and fresh, and doesn't just sound like the Latter Rain, or just sound like Enigma, or just sound like Current, trying to, but still, of course, these are also albums that we put out. That's our music. So to have the references there and do some of those things, of course. But yeah, to try and evolve, I guess, is the bottom line here.
Yeah, and it's so great to see that from the fan perspective as well too, because every album feels like it has its own distinct sound to it while maintaining the core sound of what the band is all about. Like you can look at how one album might be a little more straightforward, one a little more bombastic, one with a little more character. Like everything goes into different directions with it. But with Solemn, again, you know, it's just like I really find that profound sound to it, and I just love the instrumentation that really goes on with it as well. You know, the fact that there's the horn sections, the saxophone sections that happen throughout it. You know, hitting some of the most melodic moments you guys have done to date, while also executing some of the most dark stuff that you guys have done the dates. When you were working on this album, like, was it deliberate to try to go into these different directions, or was it just like a natural songwriting, or how did that come about?
Well, when it comes to the main songs, it's Jonar who is the main composer, who does like who does most of the composing, and then he sends out the songs to us, and Kjetil comes with his ideas and his solos and stuff like that, and I make like vocal lines and stuff like that. So a lot of the songwriting and how that process has been is on Jonar, of course, when he has been creating those riffs and stuff like that. So I guess that's most on him, but of course we all add our flavor and are influenced by different things. So yeah, I don't know if you have something to add here, Kjetil.
Let's say we get some song ideas, and we all as a team are working on just refining those ideas and completing the song. It's deliberate that it's taken this kind of direction. I don't know, but we're all really happy about the way it sounds, and kind of agree with you. It is both darkness and very melodic parts as well, and that's kind of been our thing all the way. But as Sindre says, we're growing, we're evolving, we're trying to take In Vain to the next level with every album. So yeah, just really appreciate that you appreciate these things as well.
Yeah. And also, you know, we always try to not put restrictions on ourselves. We can do whatever we want, but it still has to be in vain, you know. So what direction it takes, it might not always be planned. It's just whatever sounds good, whatever we like, and then what that turns out to be is what the album will be, basically.
It's kind of a fun process too. You get all these ideas, and some of them in the beginning, yeah, you get a bit skeptical. Is this really a sound that we can carry into our band? And then at the end, when it's all sewn together, it just works. So we're not afraid to try something new or put some happy tunes in between all the darkness, and so we're happy that you think it still sounds like In Vain, even though it's something new all the way.
Oh, definitely. So thinking about that, is there like any particular examples of like ideas that you didn't think that would work that turned out working well on the album, or any ideas that you might use on a future release that didn't pan out for this album?
Well, there are some ideas that we didn't use for the album that might show up on the next album. That's been the case on several of our albums. I think actually there are some riffs that were intended for. Actually, one riff I think was intended for either for the letter Rain or Mantra. That's on here, and there's some riffs that we haven't used that we cut that might be used later. Yeah, you never know. But so we do a pretty thorough like pre-production process where we record the songs and try out the ideas. So when we record the album, then we know that this is kind of how we want it. So but things are kind of removed during the process if we feel that something doesn't work, you know. So we were pretty confident about the ideas when we went to the studio, or when we did the actual recording. So yeah, some but there are still some riffs, some ideas that's been left out this time around that might be used next time or might never be used. You never know. It just depends on what works really.
Oh, that's just so cool to me because it feels like everything that's written on this album was written for this album cycle, and the fact that you still had ideas from all the way back then that could still work for the latest release is just incredible to me. And I'm glad to see that you never get rid of a potentially good idea because you never know when it can come up in the future.
No, exactly.
Great thing about computers, you record something, it's there forever and ever, and you can scroll back and hey, that was actually pretty cool, and then you can try to make something of something really old. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. And that just goes into how much I do appreciate what's going on here with Solemn is everything from the track listing to the movements to everything that's used. It feels like from the very first note to the very last note of the album, it feels like you guys put so much time and effort to make sure that everything was heard in the correct order for the album. Nothing feels out of place. Everything feels like it's in the spots that it should be. And I gotta imagine that did take a lot of time to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
always like a difficult process. Yeah, to especially like the track order for the album in what order it should be played. Sometimes you have some ideas like the last song was always supposed to be like the closer, and we pretty soon found out about the opener. But you need at least for I don't know how many people that sits. I think more in the like in the metal world than than maybe in other genres sits down and listens to an entire album. There's a lot of like people listening to single songs, but for me at least it's important also like the dynamic of the entire album. So yeah, we put a lot of thought and a lot of it's a lot of going back and forth and trying to agree on the track list and yeah, in what order it should be because yeah, it's as you say, it's really hard. And we actually did on Currents, we had two editions, one edition with two more songs than the red like the normal edition, and then we changed the order. So the order wasn't, because when there were two new songs, they couldn't just be added to at the end. So then it has to be had to be rearranged, and that confused a lot of people. So we probably won't do that again. But
let's not do that
it
again.
felt, yeah, it felt, you know, when we had those two different editions with new songs or different songs on them, or two extra songs rather on the one edition, then you had to mix it up because the order didn't work that way then. So yeah, it's always been important to us that the album flows as a whole, even though if we maybe don't have like a red thread on the theme, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and that does matter to me so much. Being someone that does appreciate an album from start to finish, I've always been that way. I do appreciate singles, and of course, I imagine it's a hard choice to be able to decide what to pick from, what to show off as singles because the album is so important, and you want to be able to show those off right. But I still love the fact that you do care so much about the album experience that you would experiment like you did on Currents and now what you're doing with Solomon, continuing onward to make sure that the album experience is as great as it can be. In fact, even though the singles came out ahead of time, I waited till I got the promo for the album to be able to check everything out from start to finish because I didn't want anything influencing the way that I enjoyed the actual album. Then I saw what the singles were, and they did make a lot of sense to me. I mean, they are great, catchy songs that I think really garnered a lot of attention. I'm so happy to see that.
I
Yeah,
guess
that's the
you're
thing about singles, you know. Yeah, you have to grab the listener's attention fast. You can't have you can't have a song that builds up for 3 minutes as your first single. Then you won't grab that you won't grab any new fans there probably. So
at the
So,
same time, I guess most of us are kind of old school listeners. We
yeah,
enjoy that album feeling that you're talking about, and yeah, having that particular sounds that just fits for that album. And, so yeah, a lot of effort into it, I guess.
yeah.
Mm.
and Thinking about that, since I did kind of mention it, it's just like at least from the circles that I've been a part of, like everyone has friends, acquaintances, random people I've seen online. They're just discovering in vain now in 2024 with Solemn. Like, how does that feel to be able to like garner this kind of attention in 2024, this many albums in, and still seeing that people are discovering you for the first time and loving what they hear?
Oh, there's no better feeling than that. Yeah, exactly.
It's about time. I mean, we'll always put out good albums, I guess, and we'll gradually build up a solid fan base, and that's good. But of course, it's great to see that more people realize that we're alive. Basically, we love to get out to as many as possible. That's just how it is. But it's yeah, it's special music for special people.
Oh, definitely. And looking between the both of you and looking at the backgrounds, I can't help but admire like all the gear that I'm seeing between the both of you. For the recording cycle, like, did you change anything up when it comes to the guitars or the amps or anything like that, or are you sticking to like the same kind of setups, or how's that been?
I can tell you about a bit about the recording. It's kind of a shared process. We do the drums in a big studio, of course, and then we record lots of the guitar and bass and vocals actually in different home studios. We live in different towns, and yeah, and with today's technology, it's no problem to do it like that. So this is my guitar shed in the background, and I've done all the past two albums in here. Use some different kind of guitars, but mainly sticks to the PRSs here, and record it with a Kemper sound, and then a DI just dry sound that usually is reamped in the studio. So I'm actually not sure what kind of amp with the sound on Solemn is, because that's all done in the studio by Jens Bogren and his guys, and I just know it sounds really heavy, and that's that's my main goal.
Yeah, also I did. That's actually this is the first album I've done all the vocals here at home. I I can't turn around my computer now because of wires and hell of a mess down here. But I have my vocal booth over there. So both me and Andreas recorded all our vocals here this time around, and with a couple of different microphones and stuff like that. And then of course Jens worked his magic in the studio after to add to make it to make it pop out and sound great. Yeah.
And I gotta imagine between both of you, it's got to be able to be, it's got to be nice to be able to have your own settings to be able to relax and record. That way, you're not feeling like you're under the pressure of being in the studio and money's getting burned every hour if something goes out of place or something like that. And when you have it set up at home and you got things down the way that you want them to, it can be a much easier experience.
Yeah, but the only problem is then you can do as many takes as you want, and you listen to things 20,000 times, and then, oh, maybe I should change that part a little bit and that part a little bit, and then you change that, and then a week goes by, and then you go, ah, fuck, I shouldn't have changed that. I think I'll change it back, and then another week, and no, I think I like it better that way. Yeah. So when you're in a studio and you're paying for it, then you have to make decisions quicker. But yeah, I guess it has its ups and downs. You get to really get a feel of the material and try it out before you send it to the guy that's mixing it. So yeah, I guess it's a good thing. Just have to learn to know when to stop, changing small details.
So thinking about that a little bit deeper, and of course, between both of you, being able to add your own influences into the already skeleton of the idea of the songs, and then you're able to layer on top of that. like, is it much of a challenge at this point? I mean, I gotta imagine with the songwriting process at this point, you know how it goes, but like when there's a particular idea that you want to be able to throw in and how much you're able to add your own influence or just playing for the song or trying something different, like how much does that affect you to be able to add your input into the songs?
I personally think it's a kind of cool way to work. Actually, it's not for everyone's taste, but you get this really great basis of the song, and then you're, as you say, you're able to put your own mark on it and bring your own ideas to the table. Uh, and I personally put lots of thought and effort into every note on that I play, basically. Sometimes you can sit and jam for hours and just, there it is. That was the sound or the sequence or the particular note I was looking for, and then you start building up on that. So it is a kind of a composing recording session for me as well, especially in the pre-prod session. So it takes a lot of thoughts and effort, even though the songs are great already when we start working on them.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's and sometimes it's amazing and it kind of almost goes um like without having to think, like the idea is there right away and then you record it and yeah, this works. But often you have to, as Kjetil says, you have to go and try and try and try and try and okay, there it is, or maybe there's a part of it and then try some more and there we have another part and then eventually like the pieces of the puzzle are put together and then yeah, then it feels great. But yeah, it's a lot of work and it takes time.
So it's a different kind of process than a traditional band who hangs out in
Yeah.
the recording room and just jams and tries things out together. But at the same time, it's kind of the same because we do the pre-prods, we listen to each other. What does the drummer do there? How are the vocal lines? How can I answer to that on my instruments? And so it goes back and forth a lot of times before we finally reach the final process.
Yeah, absolutely. So we give each other feedback on the different stuff, and yeah, we sometimes change things and come with other ideas, and or yeah. So yeah, as Kjetil says, it goes a lot back and forth during that process.
So thinking about that as well too. I mean, obviously with everyone being spread out in the recording process and being able to trade files like that, it doesn't always make for being able to get together every week to be able to go to band practice or rehearsal or songwriting. So when you do eventually get together and be able to work on these songs, you know, for a live show or a small touring or whatever the case is, what is it like to be able to start working on those new songs?
Oh,
That's
it's
always
delightful, I'd say.
yeah,
Because
but also
you
all
have lots of years with playing songs from the previous albums. Kind of feels like, oh, okay, we need something new then, and it's been a blast just getting together and playing some of the new stuff together. Kind of, and everyone is well prepared. We know the lines, so it doesn't take a lot of work to get it to work together. So it's amazing actually, and especially on stage when we get there.
yeah, I totally agree. But it's also a bit nerve-wracking when you try because you're not always sure if a song, when you've only done it, like recorded it, then you're not sure if it works live, you know? So the first time you try it out live, it's a bit nerve-wracking to see if, okay, does this actually like hit as hard when we do it live? And yeah, thankfully, I think the songs we've played so far from Solemn, it really works live. It's great fun to play them. So yeah, that's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, and I also gotta imagine just like making sure that, like on every new album, you want to make sure that the track order is in the way that it should be. That's also the case for the set list as well too. And of course, that can always vary. You know, whether you're doing like a half hour opener, whether you're doing an hour plus headlining sets, or anything in between. You want to make sure that you're gonna have the best possible set list. So when that comes together, and especially with adding new songs into the set, what was that like to be able to try to figure that out?
Well,
It's
it's yeah, as you said, there's a lot of there goes a lot of thought into that as well, and yeah, it's not it's hard. Also, the order for the songs we've gone over that many times in the both in the rehearsing rooms and in like the band chat and stuff like this. What was yeah, and especially what song should you start with is always a problem because you want to start with a song that gets everyone's attention and that sounds good, but at the same time you want a song that's not too hard for the sound guy because if not, then you're wasting basically a song because it sounds like shit and he has to tweak everything, and then on the second song then everything sounds better. So yeah, we've gone over these things 1,000 times, I think.
before every gig, there's a huge debate in our chat forum as to
Yeah.
what songs to play. And we basically want to cram as many songs as possible into our set list, but we should stop making long songs, I guess.
Yeah.
They're too long.
Next
So,
time we'll just play an Enigma medley and then
perhaps we actually tried that once, didn't we?
yeah,
We did a medley. Didn't work.
I don't think we'll do that again.
Nope.
So thinking about that, I mean, was it just like the composition didn't work right, or did it just feel like you were leaving too much out of it when you were doing a medley, or how did that not work?
I would say
I,
it was an experiment, wasn't it?
yeah,
And we wanted to give, it was from the latter rain, I guess.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of songs from the latter rain, and we just did like one or two or three sequences of each song and put it together. It was fun, but
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
I think if like to fully appreciate a medley like that, you have to know the songs,
Yeah,
and if you know the songs, you want to hear the full song. So it's kind of a yeah,
it's a lose-lose situation.
yeah.
It would be quite the tease to see like some of those songs, just like a couple
Yeah.
riffs or whatever that would be, and then going into another section. I mean, I totally understand that if you want to be able to play as much as you can, and you only got like 35, 40 minute set or whatever the case is. But there's also something to be said about being able to play the full songs as well too. And now
Yeah.
with so many albums and so many choices to go for, I mean, it definitely sounds like you're going in the right direction with picking out a couple from the new album and then trying to figure out what you want to be able to play from the past catalog.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Always, we try to. Of course, we want to play songs that the crowd wants to hear. But of course, we want to play some new music, and we want to play songs that we think work live, that are fun to play live. So yeah, it's always as Kjetil said, there's always a huge debate before every show about the set list.
So, thinking about that, what are the current plans that are going on right now?
Well, there's not too much yet. We're doing some shows in Norway, like late summer, early autumn, and that's it for now. But we're working on it. We're hoping to do a European tour when the time is right, like hopefully early next year or something like that. It depends on many factors, you know. So yeah, we're hoping to do more live activity now that we have a new album and things like this. But yeah, it's as I said, it depends on many factors. We're not a full-time band. We have jobs and we have families, so that's one part. Everyone has to be able to go to do this sort of live things, and then the yeah, and it's harder now than it was you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, because everything is more expensive. So it's harder to actually get shows also. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully we'll play a lot more the coming year, I guess.
Oh yeah, and I totally understand that living over here in the United States, and especially with this year, with just applying for a visa has gone up astronomically,
Yeah.
and not even the guarantee to come over here, just the application has gone up so much. So I know that might be happening around the world too, and of course the cost of fuel to be able to, you know, whether a van or a bus or whatever the case is, and merch sales and all that stuff. But I guess that's just my way of saying I appreciate the fact that you guys still want to be able to play live shows despite all of these things that can really hinder the experience, because as great as these songs are on the album, getting to experience them live has got to just be an amazing feeling as well too, and I'm glad to see that that's still happening in 2024.
I think we all love playing live. So it's like you said, everything is more expensive. It's harder to do this kind of things, especially like a tour and stuff like this, because yeah, just because there are so many expenses. And when we're not doing this full time, you know, we're dependent on getting off from work and leaving our families at home, and yeah, all of these things. But yeah, I think all of us love the live bit. I think that's actually our favorite part, to be able to do this live. So we are hoping to do as much as possible. No doubt about that.
Oh, hey, I absolutely apologize for that. I updated
No
Zoom
worries.
before us talking, and I see they added a new feature where you have to wait 10 minutes before starting a new meeting instead of being able to do it automatically. So I deeply apologize for that.
Don't worry, no problem.
No problem. I even got
Oh,
time to fetch a beer, so hey.
oh, awesome. I'm glad.
We
Well, I'm
may
glad we can keep doing this. There was a few more things I wanted to get to. One thing in particular on this album is that lyrically, this album has hit me harder than any other In Vain album to date. I mean, whether it's going more into the fantasy lyrics or it's more introspective, or it feels like kind of the state of the world stuff. Like it feels like everything just hits so hard on this album. What was it like to be able to put these kind of lyrics to the music that's going on this time around?
Well, this this time around, it's me and Jonas who has written the lyrics. So I've written four of them, I think, and Jonas the rest. So or I wrote one for the previous album, yeah, but yeah, four for this. So yeah, it's it's nice to be able to write the lyrics. I find that process really hard, to be honest, because I'm really glad that you enjoy them, because I don't want to write a lyric about nothing. I want to actually have something to write about, and that's and to be able to write a lyric that actually says something that makes sense. So yeah, I'm very glad that you appreciate the lyrics as well, because yeah, that's, as I said, it's hard, and it takes time. I'm very pleased with the results. But yeah, that's one thing that's been, yeah, I find it very difficult actually to do it. Probably because I have some certain standards for what I want them to be like if I'm going to put out my own lyrics. And I know Jonas also struggles with that process, that writing lyrics that actually works and says something at the same time. You know, it can be a struggle.
And in speaking of that struggle, is that something that like comes from like a or at least I'm thinking of the lyrical content, is it something that's like a personal to you as well, or are you just trying to think of something that really matches the feel of the song, or how do you approach that?
No, yeah, it's usually it's personal. Yeah, in some sort of aspect. So some of the lyrics are more personal than others. As you said, some of them are more like the state of the world and stuff like this. But of course, it has to come from your own observations and your own mind, sort of say. So yeah, it's about finding the angle, and actually having something to say. Not it's to sit down and I'm gonna write a lyric, and then what am I going to write about? Yeah, I need to have something, like have an idea, have something on my mind, or have something like an idea that I can work with. And also from there, the process is pretty long and tiresome.
Oh, I can imagine. And yeah, the reason I keep bringing that up with the lyrics is because I'm someone that has struggled with a lot of mental health issues ever since I was very young. And on particular on this album, there was just like moments lyrically that just like felt like such a gut punch to me, that felt so relatable to me, even though obviously I know it wasn't written about me. I can relate to it so much. I mean, whether it's more in the fantasy aspects, whether it's the introspection that's going on, or the anger of the state of the world right now. I mean, there's so many different ways I could look at it, but it's just like when I can relate to an album lyrically, not just musically, I appreciate that album so much more. And that's what I've always come to you guys for with all these albums. But it just really feels like on Solemn, it just like it's on a different level for me, where I can just appreciate it so much more on an emotional level.
Yeah, I'll just have to say again, really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm very glad that that aspect also is something that people appreciate, and yeah, because as you said, it's personal. So it's yeah, it takes time, and it's a tiresome process. I know for both me and you know on this album, it has been. So yeah, I'm glad that it can yeah, that they can have an impact. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah, and I absolutely mean it. And I could probably say that for every single album. I could point out a song or a moment where it does that, but it feels like through Solemn, there's so many of them. And maybe it's just the state of where I am right now, where it's just being able to hit the same emotional levels that's going on with it. But yeah, when you got those kind of lyrics and you match it up with such emotional music, and being able to match it up this time, like I really do feel like Solomon is some of the best work that you guys have done today. I'm not sure if I could ever do like a list where I say like this is the bottom and this is the top, but at least as of right now with Solemn, it's just like it. I appreciate it so much that I feel like it is some of the best work that you guys have done today.
Just had to say thank you once again, and yeah, I actually agree with you. I don't have written any lyrics myself for this album, or any of the others for that kind of matter. But I'm actually listening to some of the pre-recordings, and there was this one song where Sindre was singing, of course, and it hit me even more than some of the others. Something about the lyrics, something about the way that he delivered the message and the lyrics. And then we talked about this a couple of months or half a year or a year later, and he told a story about the background for that exact song, and his the lyrics that he had written it. It was just like it clicked. I got it, even though I didn't know the background that he shared with me then. I just felt perhaps the same as you. That's okay. There's something more here than just a lyric that he made. So yeah, cool to hear your opinion on it too.
Oh, definitely. And I'm glad I can share that too, because I can't be the only In Vain fan that feels the same way about this particular album. And especially for new fans that are just discovering you on this album, when they go back and check out albums like The Latter Rain, like Enigma, like Mantra, they're going to be able to hear moments like that throughout, but also be able to appreciate the other creative processes that happen throughout those albums as well too. That's why I also kind of feel like this is a good starter album for uh, people that are just discovering you guys for the first time, because it does capture what you've done in the past while being brand new material, while showing who you are in the current day right now, but also just showing that level of maturity in the songwriting and lyrical content and everything that goes along with it. So when they go backwards, they'll be able to appreciate the past albums as well, or at least I hope so, anyways.
I know when listening to bands that I love myself, that first album that you hear, that's important. That often stands out for the rest of your life as your favorite, perhaps. But of course, if you're able to listen to us all the way and you still think that we have approved, so that's that's a good sign, I think. Absolutely. That first impression of a band when you get from an album has to be a good album. Of course, it's often hard to top that when listening to previous or new albums as well. If you got that really great first impression of a band.
Oh, definitely. And another great way to be able to get that impression, and I'm glad that you guys still care so much about this, is the album artwork as well, too. I mean, you want it to be a good representation of the tracks that are involved and everything that goes along with the album. And I think the album cover just strikes so hard and matches the tone of the album so well. It almost feels like it's kind of like a Funeral Doom album at times when I look at it, but it really does match the mood and the tone of the album. Where did that come from?
Oh, we did talk about we were discussing back and forth also how we wanted to do the artwork and who we wanted to do the artwork. There was a discussion back and forth, and then I this Lara from Subterranean Prints that's done the artwork. I came across some of her work, and I really liked it. So I sent that to the other guys, and they agreed that it sounds cool. So we reached out to her and asked her if she was interested and if she had the time, and we told her a bit about like the music and the lyrics and the title of the album and stuff like this. And then she came up with a sketch, and it basically was, yeah, this is how it should be. And we of course we made some adjustments and added some ideas to it. But yeah, it was one of the easier processes with a with an album cover. I have to say, because the idea was there right away from her side when we presented the like what we were after to her. So, and yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think it kind of stands out, and that's also what you want. You know, you don't want it to look like everything else. You want it to look good and to stand out between other albums when people are buying their albums. It should, yeah, it should make an impact when you look at it.
So, not having the chance to be able to experience you guys on this album cycle live, or yet being able to see you guys, like, are you matching like the album artwork for the live shows? Like, do you have like a backdrop of the album cover, or on the bass drum head, or anything showing that off?
No, not yet. But what we do when we're able to, we do use some video. I've made some like video installments for some of the other songs, so there will be some of that at least. But yeah, we haven't like printed like a backdrop or something like that with the album artwork that we haven't done.
So,
Perhaps
so
we
that
should.
really,
Yeah,
Would
maybe.
look good, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
yeah, I think that'd be so cool. And
Yeah.
you just intrigued me there, doing visual representations or presentations of the songs in the live setting. Like, how do you go about that? That's very intriguing to me.
Well, I just try to, I try to make something that matches the mood of the song, and that can add something live and make just it doesn't have to go any deeper than just it looks cool and it works with the song when you're in the live setting. So yeah, I just tried to make some videos that does that, and to enhance the entire experience, that can be another factor in addition to like the music, the us on stage, the lights, and then you have this video as well to yeah, it's just to add something more, I guess. To yeah, it's that's what I do for a living, or I work as a TV editor, so it's kind of what I do. So that's why I've tried to make something like that for the band as well.
Oh, and I'm just so happy to hear that as well too, because when you go out to see a show, I mean, you want to be able to hear the songs and you want them to sound good and you want them to be, and you want to be able to have a good time during all of it. But when you're able to add something else to it as well, I mean, some people add pyro, some people dressed up in costumes, some people do this, that, or the other thing. But when you're able to match something up like a video presentation to be able to match up with the songs and just be able to match the tone visually and audibly, that's going to make for such an incredible show, and that makes me just want to be able to get my passport over to Europe to be able to see you guys sometime soon, because I want to be able to experience that firsthand.
And it is, as you say, another part of a concept, the full package. And we're not a biggest band in the world. We can't afford the, like you said, pyro or huge costume designs or that kind of. That's not us at all, anyways. But being able to bring something visual on the stage besides six ugly guys playing metal, that's I think it's important to many people these days too. People are very visual these days, and it has to happen something all the time, unless some at least will lose interest. So it's just about getting as much as possible of people's focus on stage, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely going to hold out hope for the day that you do have the budget where you can get a shadow being able to flap the black wings on the stage and just being able to get that full representation. But until then, I'm
That would
glad to
be
see that you
something.
guys are caring so much about like the presentation, making sure that again, like we've talked about earlier, you know, making sure the set list is the best that it can be, the songs are performed the best that they can be, given that video presentation as well too. It's so cool to hear that, and of course, any merch opportunities as well too. You know, making sure that people can go home and be able to remember those shows from a T-shirt or picking up the vinyl or whatever the case is at the live show. And you know, they might be more smaller, intimate shows, like you're not going out for months on a time to be able to tour, but that's also what makes those shows so much more special when you do have those moments and you're able to spend more time with the crowd and be able to appreciate that so much more, rather than just like going from town to town, not even remembering what city you're in, because it all starts to flow together.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And as well, we appreciate it a lot every time we're able to do it. And, did this festival in May back here in Norway, which we've been to a couple of times. Basically, after every album release, we've been invited back there, and that was our first show with the new album released, at least. So it is makes a huge impact on us as well, because okay, as you say, if we've done that every night for months in a row, it would be less special, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm still glad that you guys are able to make the live shows happen and you have the passion for that, and still being able to create new music and still have that creativity flowing through. And you know, whenever the next release happens, I'm so excited to see where you go from Solemn, because it feels like there's so many great moments that are happening in the band right now. And of course, like I've mentioned a few times throughout here, you know, just like the audience is starting to build more and more because of the release of Solemn. I'm so excited to see everything that'll happen with you guys in the future.
yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, that's what we're aiming for, and hoping that as many people as possible will get to know us now through Solemn. That we get a bigger fan base. Of course, a bigger fan base would make it easier to do more shows as well, because it would be economically more, yeah, more easier. So yeah, let's hope that, and Yeah, I don't know where we're going after this. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, but until then, I mean, there is a spectacular new album known as Solemn from In Vain that just came out just about 2 months ago now. And it, like I mentioned in the very beginning, this is my favorite album of 2024 so far. And I imagine when I do my top of the year list and all that stuff, it's still going to be at the very top spot because it just means so much to me, this album. And it's been an honor to be able to talk to both of you about everything in the inner workings of how In Vain works, from the songwriting process to the live shows to everything else that goes into all of this. You guys have been a band that has gotten me through so many dark times since 2007. When I'm able to just put on one of your albums and it's just able to be a great cathartic feeling for me to be able to continue on going through the days. And I just got to thank you for that, even though that was never your intention because we're just meeting for the first time. But I just appreciate the fact that you guys put music out there that is so um, uh, very cathartic for people. People can relate to it, and just making great music at the same time, being able to incorporate all these different influences that I love so much and others do as well, and create some fantastic music out of it. And despite all the Zoom issues and technical issues on my side and your side, I'm so glad we can make all of this work out together and had such a great time. I had such a great time being able to talk to both of you.
Oh, first of all, thank you very much, and again, thank you so much for the kind words. And it's amazing to hear that our music can do that, can have that effect on people. That makes it all worthwhile. So that's amazing, and our pleasure. It was great talking to you, and yeah, we'll come back anytime.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
anytime you
Thank you
guys
very
got something
much.
to promote. Yeah, anytime
Thank
you
you very
guys got
much
something to
from
promote,
me
I'm
as well. It's been an absolute pleasure, I must say. And yeah, cool to meet fans and metal foods from other side of the globe, and just yeah, spread our music all the way throughout Minnesota and America, and we'll hopefully be there someday.